Hi everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I plan on giving a reading wrap-up for the month of May, just talking about the books I did read in May, and my review of them. And then I also plan on giving a review of the books I plan on reading in June, so, my June TBR books. So I will start with talking about the first book that I did finish and read in May. That book was Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I did make a video about this book previously on my channel. You guys can watch it if you're interested in a more in-depth review on this book. But the basic summary of that video was that I just did not like this book at all, which was really disappointing because I had heard good things about Emily Henry as an author. I had heard good things about this book. This was the first book I have read by Emily Henry, so I was disappointed by it. I gave it a 2-star rating. And basically the reason I didn't like it was because I found it very boring for most of the book. And I kept reading because I heard that it had a good ending. And so I said, well, hey, if the beginning and the middle is boring, but it has a worthwhile ending, it might be worth it. So I kept reading and I got to the ending and I hated the ending as well. So not only did I read a boring book thinking it was going to have a good ending, I got to the ending and I didn't like the ending. So I just found the ending really unrealistic. I didn't like the events that unfolded and how the ending happened. And I got the message that Emily Henry was aiming for, but I just didn't like the execution. And so the book really didn't work for me. So yeah, I mean, if you really enjoy this book, I'm sorry, but yeah, I didn't like it. If you are interested in hearing, again, my more in-depth thoughts on it, you can go ahead and watch that previous video that I have made regarding this book. So after Happy Place, I did go ahead and read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So I had heard kind of mixed things about this book online. I heard a lot of people say really good things about it, that it was, really good. And then I had heard other people who kind of bashed on it and said that it wasn't so great. And I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great. So I gave it a 4.25 star rating as I think what I would rate this book. I liked it. It was very action-packed. I liked the concept of, the dragons, that the humans form bonds with their dragons. They can communicate with their dragons, actually talk with their dragons, like telepathically. I kind of like that it's based in a war college. You guys know I really like Harry Potter. It's a wizard school. So to me, it wasn't similar to Harry Potter, but the same kind of aspect. They're in this war college and they're training and fighting to become, dragon rider warriors. I did like all of that. There was romance in it as well, like an enemies to lovers romance, which I also really enjoyed. So everything about the book in theory should have made it a 5-star read for me, but I can't quite put my finger on why, but it just felt like something was missing. Like it didn't quite have that spark and that strong urge for me to keep reading in the way that a 5-star read normally would have. So I still really very much so enjoyed it. I thought it was worth my time and I thought it was a fun read, but it just didn't have quite that spark, like I said, that would have made it a 5-star in my opinion. I did go ahead and I read The Kite Runner, and I have also made a more in-depth review on this book as well if you are interested in kind of a summary and my thoughts on the book, like deeper thoughts on this book. But basically, I really enjoyed this book. This book was a 5-star read for me. Very heartfelt, very impactful, very powerful story. And like I said, I have made a video regarding this book, as well as another book by that same author, 1,000 Splendid Suns, which I also rated 5 stars. If you are interested in hearing a deeper summary of both of those books, like I said, I have recorded a video of those books. So you guys can watch that if you are interested in hearing more about it. And then currently, for my end of May, beginning of June kind of read, I have been reading Iron Flame. So this is the sequel to Fourth Wing. So I did like this book. I did like Fourth Wing enough to go ahead and read the sequel. I figured I would read both because sometimes, too, the sequel ends up being better than the first novel. I feel like a lot of the times with a long series like this, the first book is kind of a setup and a build-up, getting you used to the world and the characters. And so sometimes the sequels end up being even better than the first novel. So I did go ahead and I decided to read Iron Flame as well. So far, I am enjoying it. I'm not going to give a rating or anything on this book so far. Since I am currently reading it, I am about a third of the way done. So far I am enjoying it. I'm not loving it so far, but I am enjoying it. But we will see, I think it's a little bit too early to tell still, as far as like a rating or anything like that, because of course, usually most of the most exciting events happen towards the end of a book. So we will kind of see, once I get farther into the book, what I think of it. So I do plan on making a review of both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame once I finish reading Iron Flame. For my June TBR, I plan on starting with Six of Crows. So you guys know, if you watched my May TBR video, this book actually was on a maybe on my May TBR. I didn't know if I would get to it or not. And I haven't. So it is going to be on the top of my June TBR because I do really want to get to it. I think, it'll be a good read. I have heard some good things about it. And, I do plan on going ahead and starting with this book once I do finish Iron Flame. There is a second book in this series. It's called Crooked Kingdom. I do not currently have it. But again, same concept as with Fourth Wing. If I do end up enjoying this book, I probably will go ahead and read Crooked Kingdom as well. So, and then after Six of Crows, I plan on starting with Love Theoretically. So the reason I picked Love Theoretically was because I have heard a lot of good things about Allie Hazelwood. She's very popular on BookTube. A lot of her novels have been very popular. I have heard a lot of people say, though, that a lot of her novels are very similar. They follow a very similar plot and very similar characters. I believe she also has The Love Hypothesis, and I think the other one's called Love on the Brain. And a lot of people say that similar, but that the formula works and each book is enjoyable. But the reason I picked Love Theoretically specifically to start with is because the character in this book that has type 1 diabetes, I think it's the main character, and I actually have type 1 diabetes myself, and I actually work as a diabetes educator. You guys know I'm a nurse. That's kind of the specialty of nursing I do, is diabetes education. And I am just kind of curious to see a portrayal of a type 1 diabetes character in a novel like this, especially in a novel where the author herself doesn't have type 1 diabetes, because there is a lot of stereotypes and I think misconceptions regarding especially type 1 diabetes. And I am just kind of curious to kind of see the portrayal and how that is portrayed. And there's a very strong possibility that I will either really love this book, or if the portrayal of the diabetes is not well done, that I will very much so hate this book. So we will see. But yeah, that's kind of the main reason I decided to pick Love Theoretically specifically out of Allie Hazelwood's books. But I am kind of curious about her as an author. Like I said, I've heard a lot about her online. I am kind of nervous because, as I mentioned before, I also heard very good things about Emily Henry, and then the very first book that I picked up by Emily Henry I did not like. And, I had very high expectations, and then I was kind of let down. So I'm excited about this book. I think and I hope I will like it, but I'm kind of going into it with an open mind that I might not, just because I was let down in the past. So we will see. And there is another book that I do not currently have. I will put a picture of it here in the video. It is called California Promises by Erin Spinetto. And this is another book that features a character with type 1 diabetes. It's a friends to lovers romantic comedy type book. It is not a popular book on BookTube or in general at all. They don't even sell it in store at Barnes & Noble. I had to buy it online. The reason I decided to read it was because a YouTuber who talks about diabetes, type 1 diabetes specifically, her name is Diabetic Danica. she read the book and kind of talked about it a little bit, and I thought, hey, that would be interesting to kind of read a book that has a type 1 diabetes character. And you know, sometimes when you have a disease or a disability, it's kind of nice to see it represented in, you know, in the media. So I did decide to read that actually before I decided to read Love Theoretically. And again, I decided it would be fun to read them around the same time so I can kind of compare kind of what a popular book's portrayal of type 1 diabetes is by an author who does not have type 1 diabetes, and then a not popular author and book portrayal of type 1 diabetes with an author who does have type 1 diabetes. So I plan on just kind of comparing them and giving my thoughts and my opinions on both of them. I finished both of those books. There is another book by Allie Hazelwood that I decided to give a try, which was Bride. So I am kind of interested because most of Allie Hazelwood's books are just regular romance books. They kind of talk about women in the science field and STEM, and it takes place in the real world. And this book by Allie Hazelwood is more of a like romance fantasy book. So it talks, you know, about a vampire and werewolves. And so it'd be kind of interesting to compare an author who, you know, normally writes just plain romance books, like I said, to take place in the real world, versus that same author's depiction of kind of a fantasy world. So I am kind of interested in kind of comparing the two. And I don't know, it just sounds fun, you know, like, sounds cliche, but, you know, I did like the Twilight series growing up. You know, not the best literature, not meant to be, like, profound or anything like that, but they are fun to read when you're a teenager, right? So, I don't know, I just thought this would be a really, you know, fun read. You guys know that I am reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. You know, if you watch my channel, you do know that I am learning Ukrainian, and that I have started, you know, reading this book in Ukrainian. And I haven't gotten too far in it yet. I am on page 83. And really, so far, I would say, you know, I can talk more about my experience with reading in a foreign language. It is very challenging, but I will say that I am understanding what's going on in the book, but it's a little bit more of a slog to get through just because I can't sit and binge read it as I can these other books. And so I do not have a time limit on when I'm going to finish this book. I kind of have been slacking the last month, I'm not going to lie. I do need to, you know, get into a more regular schedule on, you know, reading a little bit every day. But I'm not going to put a time limit as to when I think I'm going to be finishing this. I just plan on taking my time and going at my own pace. I'm understanding enough of what's going on in the story, but there are still a lot of words and things that I don't understand, but I don't think it's interfering with my understanding of the events in the story. Like, I know right now the spot that I'm at in the book, they are in Diagon Alley, they're shopping for all of Harry's school supplies, so I understand enough to know where I'm at in the story and what's going on. Yeah, I just plan on continuing to read this, you know, until I get through it, and then I can kind of maybe write a deeper review and a deeper kind of video and thoughts on what it's like reading a whole novel in a foreign language, I suppose, once I'm finished with it, but no idea how long that is going to take. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys again in another one. Bye.